People say you never really know a person until they either owe you money or sleep beside you long enough. Turns out, I got the short end of both. On a crisp October morning, one of those days that smells like dry leaves and dead promises, I was standing on my porch, coffee in one hand, wondering if the creak in the roof was the wind or a warning. The mailman had just dropped off a stack of bills and one of those glossy home renovation catalogs that always make you feel like your drywall has failed you morally. And that's when I saw it, the knife. Not a real one, no glint of steel or dripping drama. It was the kind of knife you feel between your shoulder blades before anything physical ever happens. You know what I mean? That quiet, gut-deep sense that something is off, not wrong enough to panic, but wrong enough to itch under your skin like fiberglass insulation. My wife, Julia, had left early that morning. She kissed me on the cheek, said she had an early client meeting downtown, and made sure to spray her perfume on both sides of her neck like she was about to walk into a courtroom in a cologne commercial. I told her to drive safe. She said, always. And that should have been it. But it wasn't. I work from home, financial analysis, which means I sit at a desk most of the day calculating how other people are screwing up their budgets while slowly becoming a line item on my own expense sheet. It's honest work, even if it makes you cynical. Around noon, I did what every adult does when they feel a little off. I opened the fridge and stared into it for inspiration. It didn't help. I settled for leftover pasta and a question that wouldn't stop bouncing around in my skull. Why was Julia's red scarf still hanging by the door if it was the one she always wore to client meetings? Stupid, right? People forget stuff. But the longer I chewed, the louder the silence got. By 3 p.m., I had convinced myself I was being paranoid. Midlife crisis mixed with pasta-induced paranoia. Classic combo. I even Googled how to stop being suspicious of your wife, like some helpless sitcom character. But still the knife. Not seen, not touched, just felt. And the thing about knives you can't see is, they're already inside you. That evening, Julia came home humming. Not a full-blown Disney princess melody, more like someone lightly whistling to keep themselves from thinking too hard. She waltzed into the kitchen, dropped her purse on the counter like it owed her money, and gave me that smile. The kind of smile people practice in mirrors when they know they're being watched. "How was your day?" she asked, opening the fridge and grabbing a bottle of white like she was in a commercial for casual elegance and selective memory. "Quiet," I said, and that was true. Too quiet. I spent half the afternoon refreshing her location on Find My iPhone, something I hadn't done since she lost it at a concert 3 years ago. That day, she thanked me like I was her hero. Today, I turned it off before she got home. I didn't feel like a hero anymore. Just a guy pretending not to notice a disappearing act in slow motion. She didn't mention the scarf. She didn't mention the new earrings I hadn't seen before. And she definitely didn't mention why she'd suddenly changed the password to our shared phone plan. Instead, she leaned in, kissed me on the forehead, like I was her elderly uncle with back problems, and said, "I'm going to take a long bath." I watched her walk upstairs, wine glass in hand, and wondered when exactly our marriage had traded honesty for polite sabotage. I didn't follow. I just sat there, swirling the last of my coffee, now cold and bitter. At 8:12 p.m., she got a text message. Her phone buzzed on the table beside me. Just once. Then silence. I didn't touch it. I didn't have to. I just looked at it like it was a ticking clock on a bomb no one admitted existed. At 8:17, the same number called. The screen lit up, no name, just numbers, and buzzed once before she picked it up from the bathroom. "MHM," she answered sweetly, and then the door closed. I sat there for a minute, then 5. Then I stood up and went outside. Not for air, not for calm, just to remind myself I was still breathing. And then I pulled out my phone. Not to call her, not to scream, just to send a message. 7 words. "I have freed you from the choice. Pause. The decision has been made." I didn't send it. Not yet. But I typed it. And I left it there on the screen, like a loaded chamber waiting for a trigger. It was the photo that did it. Not suspicion, not intuition. Those came earlier. This was evidence. Cold, pixelated, unflinching evidence. It was delivered by mistake. Irony, as always, has a wicked sense of timing. I was dropping off a package at our neighbor's place. Linda, sweet lady, 2 kids, a golden retriever with a limp. Her husband travels for work. Or at least that's the excuse she gave me when I used to hear late-night conversations on her back porch that sounded way too friendly to be strictly customer service. Pot, meat kettle. Anyway, I handed her the package. We exchanged some polite neighborhood gossip, and she said, "Oh, by the way, I think this might have ended up in our mailbox by mistake." It was an envelope. No return address. Just my name, typed. I opened it before I even got home. Call it instinct. Or maybe self-defense. Inside were two things, a grainy photo and a sticky note. The photo showed Julia in a hotel parking lot, wearing the same scarf that supposedly never left the house. Her arm around a man I'd never seen before, but who looked like he got paid to whisper lies to married women at wine tastings. And the note? "You didn't hear this from me, but you deserve to know." I stared at it for a full minute before walking back to the house. Every step felt heavier. Not like I was marching toward confrontation, more like I was heading to my own funeral, wearing someone else's shoes. Julia was in the kitchen, laughing at something on her phone. I watched her from the doorway for a while. Not like a man watching his wife. Like a detective watching a suspect who doesn't know the jig is up. "Hey," I said. Calm. Measured. Like I hadn't just watched my world go through a paper shredder. "Hey, babe," she replied, all sunshine and spinach dip. I held up the envelope. "This came in the mail." Her smile cracked. Just for a second. Like a windshield starting to split. "Oh." I handed it to her. She took it. Opened it. Saw the photo. Silence. Not denial. Not outrage. Not even guilt. Just silence. "Say something," I said. "I don't know what to say," she replied. That's the thing about betrayal. It never comes with a soundtrack. Just a cold echo where trust used to live. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Didn't ask, "How could you?" Or "When did it start?" Or "Why him?" I wasn't auditioning for a soap opera. I'd already gotten my answer. I pulled out my phone. Opened the draft I'd written the night before. "I have freed you from the choice. The decision has been made." And this time, I hit send. Her phone buzzed. She looked down. Read the message. And when she looked back up, I was already walking out the door that I didn't go far. Just far enough to let her stew. I drove down the road to an empty parking lot behind an old church that hadn't seen a sermon in years, unless you count the raccoons preaching to each other about stale communion crackers. Sat there, engine running, staring at the dashboard like it might confess something. The radio was off, but my mind played its own soundtrack. Not sad violins. Not even angry guitars. No, this was pure silence. The kind that wraps around you and presses in, reminding you that no one's coming to rescue you. 15 years. 15 years of marriage, and I knew what her favorite wine was. Knew she cried at movie trailers and always added salt before tasting. I knew she hated hotel pillows but loved hotel sheets. I even knew she snored after exactly 1.5 glasses of Cabernet. But I didn't know this. That's the thing about betrayal. It's not just that they cheated. It's that they managed to hide. Right under your nose. While you were busy being loyal. While you were fixing the sink or folding laundry or defending them in conversations they never deserved. I stared at my phone, waiting. Not for an apology. For the moment she realized I wasn't bluffing. Because here's the part she didn't know. I'd been ready. Weeks of watching, of connecting dots she never bothered to erase. Little things. Deleted texts. Shifted routines. New lingerie that never made an appearance at home. I hadn't said a word. I was letting her write her own ending. And now, the page had turned. At 9:42 p.m., the phone rang. It was her. I didn't answer. She called again. I let it ring out like I was listening to her regrets in surround sound. The third time, I picked up. "Hi, Julia," I said flatly. Not babe, not love, not hey. Just her name. I can explain," she stammered. "No, you really can't. It wasn't serious. You brought it into our bed." I cut her off before she could serve me that lukewarm justification. Silence. Then, softly, "What are you going to do?" I paused. Not for drama. For clarity. "I'm going to let you feel it," I said. All of it. The weight. The loss. The silence after someone who loved you leaves and doesn't look back. Please don't do this. I already did. You just didn't notice. When I came home the next day, she was gone. Not packed up. Not moved out. Just gone. Like a ghost that left no note. But I knew where she went. The same hotel in the photo. The same parking lot I'd memorized. My guess? She ran to him like a child runs to the last adult who'll pretend the world is okay. But it wasn't okay. Not anymore. I didn't chase her. I didn't beg. I didn't fall into the cliché of trying to win her back from a man whose cologne smelled like insecurity and bad decisions. Instead, I started preparing. Legally, financially, tactically. Julia didn't know it, but I'd been documenting everything for weeks. I had screenshots, messages recovered from the cloud, photos, GPS logs, even receipts. Not for revenge, yet, but for leverage. Because when someone burns the bridge, you don't swim after them. You watch them drift and build yourself a better one. I hired a lawyer, not a family friend or someone with a soft touch. I hired a divorce attorney with a reputation for being polite in the courtroom and merciless everywhere else. The kind of guy who uses your betrayal like kindling for a legal bonfire. We filed the paperwork quietly. I had it served at her workplace. At lunch. Her job, the one she bragged about, where she wore her fake smiles and played power couple with her little office affair partner, got a front row seat to the consequences. According to my contact at HR, she didn't come back after lunch. Her lawyer tried to reach out within the week. Offered a settlement. Polite, balanced, generous. I declined. Because this wasn't about fairness. It was about the long, slow lesson of loss. And yet, I didn't feel better. Not right away. There's this part they don't talk about. The part after the rage cools, when you're just sitting in a room that used to be shared, drinking coffee alone, and wondering if it was all real or some fever dream. But I didn't spiral. I didn't get drunk or swipe right or call up old flames for temporary comfort. No, I got focused. I sold the house. Quietly. Moved the money into an account she couldn't touch. Shut down every joint card. Canceled subscriptions. Changed passwords. Even the Netflix. Especially the Netflix. You don't get to share a life with someone and still use their streaming account like nothing happened. She texted once more. Days later. Why are you being like this? And I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I didn't have an answer, but because she didn't deserve one. So I left it on read. The modern equivalent of silence with a middle finger. The first thing Julia lost was her smile. Not in the poetic sense, like some forlorn tragedy painted in watercolor. No, hers vanished in real time, the way a politician's grin dies when someone pulls out receipts. Her world hadn't crumbled yet. It had only started tilting. But that was enough to rattle someone who'd grown used to always landing on the softest pillow in the room. Word spread quickly. That's the thing about office gossip. It moves faster than truth, and it doesn't care about facts. 1 second you're a respected manager in heels and confidence, the next, you're that woman from the lunchroom who got divorce papers hand-delivered with a side of soup. I didn't have to be there to imagine it. I know Julia. She thrives on perception, not reality. The right shoes, the perfect filter, the smile that says nothing bad ever happens to me. And I had taken the mask off mid-show. In front of her cast. She left work early that day. Didn't even grab her lunch leftovers. My lawyer's assistant said her attorney had called no fewer than 7 times that afternoon, trying to re-establish amicable communication. Translation? Damage control. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about the optics. Worried I might leak the kind of photos and messages that make reputation managers rich. The kind of proof that doesn't just end a marriage, it resets the whole narrative. I didn't respond. Let her stew. The next week, she found out the utilities weren't in her name. I got a text. The internet is down. Did you forget to pay it? I replied. I didn't forget. I stopped paying for things I'm not using anymore. She didn't text again. By the second week, she'd moved in with her sister. The hotel bills, apparently, were adding up faster than her excuses. And the new guy, let's call him Chad, because of course it wasn't exactly in the position to play house full-time. Something about a roommate, a lease, and a deep-seated allergy to commitment. Turns out, affairs thrive in secrecy but die in daylight. Her sister, God bless her, called me. Left a voicemail asking if we could just talk this out like adults and put aside all the anger. She even threw in the classic, "You two were so good together." People always say that about a car before it catches fire. I didn't call her back either. Because this wasn't rage. This wasn't some scorched earth crusade. No, this was precision. Quiet, methodical, deliberate. Rage is messy. But silence? Silence is surgical. And here's the beautiful part. Julia still didn't know how deep the blade went. She thought it was just the embarrassment, the move out, the canceled credit cards. In her mind, I was probably licking my wounds and stewing in masculine bitterness, the kind that eventually gives way to forgiveness after a few sappy emails and maybe one awkward dinner. She had no idea I'd already rewired our financial life 6 months ago. She didn't know I'd pulled my name off her car's title and left her holding a lease she couldn't afford. She didn't know I'd switched accountants, opened a new trust, or restructured the assets in my name with the speed and precision of a man with plans. She didn't know that the vacation house she loved, the one with the wraparound porch and her stupid Pinterest pillows, was now under a shell company owned by my cousin in Idaho. She didn't know because she never cared about the details. Only the lifestyle. And the lifestyle? That was mine now. What Julia didn't realize, what most cheaters never do, is that the person they betray doesn't just disappear. They watch. They wait. They collect. She betrayed me in the shadows. But my revenge? That came in the light. And the cruelest part? I never even raised my voice. It was a Tuesday when she cracked. Not shattered. Not a breakdown. Just a fracture. Enough to hear her voice waver over the phone. I'd picked up her call not because I had anything to say, but because I was curious how she'd sound when the script ran out. She didn't open with hi. She said, "What do you want from me?" I let the silence hang. "What do you want, seriously? Do you want to humiliate me? Ruin me? Is that it?" Still, I said nothing. Because I made a mistake, okay? God, I messed up. But it wasn't like I didn't love you. It's just, things got hard, and he was there. And I didn't plan any of it. I leaned back in my chair, the phone cold against my ear. "Please," she said. "You don't have to keep doing this. We can just split everything and walk away." Now she was negotiating. That meant the cracks were deeper than she let on. She was tired, cornered. And for the first time since this began, she realized she was no longer in control. That's when I spoke. "You always told me you hated cheaters," I said quietly. You said cheating was cowardly, selfish, that if anyone ever did that to you, you'd destroy them." I know what I said. "No," I cut her off, voice calm. "You don't. Because you weren't listening to yourself. Just like you didn't listen to me, or our vows, or anything that didn't come with compliments and wine. But don't worry." I paused. "I'm not destroying you. I'm just letting you live in the world you built." She didn't respond. I heard her sniff once, then twice. "I'm sorry," she whispered. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just soft. Like a house collapsing inward. And for a second, a brief, stupid second, I almost believed her. But apologies mean nothing when they arrive after the damage. So I hung up and went back to my life. The life she no longer belonged to. Julia lost 15 pounds in 3 weeks. Turns out, guilt and panic are the most effective appetite suppressants on the market. She started showing up to meetings late, forgetting names, fumbling presentations. Her manager suggested a leave of absence before things got more public. She took it, pretending it was for personal growth. Meanwhile, Chad, her walking midlife crisis, was already pulling away. I didn't need to follow him. I just waited. The Chads of the world don't do well with collapsing women. They're built for flirtation, not fallout. 1 week after Julia's job pause, he ghosted her. She called. He didn't answer. She texted. He blocked her. She showed up at his apartment. He let the doorbell ring. The man she'd risked our life for? Vanished like a magician with no encore. You might think I'd feel some kind of satisfaction watching her unravel. But it wasn't joy. It wasn't even revenge. It was justice. The silent, boring, administrative kind. The kind where your credit score drops by 40 points and no one sends flowers. I threw a party. Not out of spite. Celebration. A moving on kind of deal. Friends, some family, light music, better bourbon. No Julia, of course. But she did find out about it, thanks to a mutual friend who accidentally posted a video of me smiling next to a beautiful woman in a blue dress. Someone I'd known casually from the gym. Nothing serious yet, but serious enough to make Julia text me at 1:14 a.m. So you've already moved on? I stared at that text for a long time. The woman in the blue dress was asleep beside me. Peaceful, unaware of the landmine conversation buzzing in my hand. I didn't answer. What was there to say? Cheaters don't get to feel betrayed. The court date came. She looked like someone halfway through a breakdown and halfway through a redemption arc she never earned. Her lawyer tried to paint her as emotionally vulnerable, misguided, but remorseful. Mine politely tore the image to shreds using screenshots, bank records, and the timeline of her affair. When we submitted the financial records, her face dropped. Turns out, she thought half meant everything I hadn't already moved. Too bad for her. I'd moved it all. The judge was fair, but the prenup was airtight. She got nothing more than what I allowed. which wasn't much. Just enough to survive, not enough to thrive. She avoided eye contact all through the session. But right before we left, she looked at me like she wanted to say something. An apology? A plea? A memory? I didn't wait to find out. Julia moved into a small apartment 2 towns over. I heard she started working at a smaller firm, part-time, just to stay busy. Word travels. Her sister stopped talking to me after the trial. She'd sided with blood, which I respected. But that didn't stop her from texting me, off the record, to say Julia had been crying almost every night. She talks about you a lot, she wrote. Still calls it your house. I didn't reply. She was right. It was my house. But she didn't belong in it anymore. Funny how someone can burn down a home and then complain about the cold. 6 months passed. Spring arrived. I took a weekend trip. Mountains. Solitude. Peace. No distractions. Just clear skies and closure. One evening, watching the sunset, my phone buzzed with a number I hadn't seen in a while. Julia. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail. Her voice was calm. Not shaky. Not dramatic. Hey. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know I broke something I can't fix. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything. But I hope you're okay. I hope you're happy. That's all. I listened once. Then deleted it. Some endings don't need responses. Some wounds don't heal. They just stop bleeding. I stood up, stretched, and poured myself a drink. The revenge wasn't in the fire. It was in the frost. Because I didn't destroy her. I freed her. And then I let the silence do the rest.